my reflections today actually are on that subject. While you are away, life for us makes a lot of sense when we are doing everything day to day. But what happens when you are away and you actually have to be drawn away from that which is your normal? We are at a place where we are talking about a new normal, and most of us are really to synthesize and say this is actually what it is. But in such kinds of seasons, when there is no one who is watching, when you are away from action and activity, what is happening? For most of us, it will actually mean a lot of frustration, a lot of complaints, a lot of blames. But I usually find strength looking at the character of David and understanding that the man who we know and the man who we celebrate was actually made at a point when he was away and he was all alone. Think about it. He was forgotten even by his own father. That kind of gives you a picture of the kind of life that he used to live. And when he's taking food at this point where we've actually read to his brothers who are in the battle, they have all the body, the physique, and everything that tells us of what kind of person he ought to be in the army and all that. His brothers talk down at him. So there are all these voices around him that are dissenting. If you think about it, his father has forgotten him. His brothers telling him, what are you doing here? Even the king, by the time he's actually going to the king and say, I can do it, he say, no, you cannot do it. So many times we think about it, there are all those voices that are actually going all around him. But he gets his strength from something more. It's not just about that moment. He is at the moment, but God has been preparing him for that moment. So many times when we are away, it's actually times for preparation. I always like to paint a picture of David in the wilderness. We know David wrote so many of the Psalms, and most of the Psalms were actually written in the wilderness. So while he is away, he's actually working on his relationship with God. He's writing Psalms, and most of them are actually songs. And so we know him also as this musician. So he develops also his talent, his skill. He's playing the harp. There's an introduction of one of the servants of Saul that does of David. He says, a young man who is skilled in playing in the harp. The Lord is with him. He's handsome. He's brave. All these things that you get to know about him are actually things that he develops while he is away. So an opportunity comes with Goliath, but it is not about that opportunity. It's what happens while he is away, while nobody else is watching. So we find David bonding with God. He's writing psalms, he's writing songs, but he's also taking care of his father's flock. And in the process, his faithfulness causes him, and his passion causes him to fight off lions, fight off bears. And this actually makes him ready for the time when he meets Goliath. So while you are away, what are you up to? What are you doing? Are you complaining of what your brothers are saying about you, or how forgotten you've actually been, or how useless you are because of all the voices that you continue to hear? Or are you working? They say opportunity comes to those who are prepared. What is God doing in your life, and what are you preparing for even today? I'd want us to think about that and know three things that are important in the life of David. One, he says, I have had an experience. There's what I've gone through. What experiences are you building in this time? I've met the lion, I've met the bear. That's what David says. Two, he says, God. God is with me, and he stands that and even declares it before Goliath himself. So you come to me with a sword and shield, but I come to you in the name of the Lord. So in his experiences, he experienced God more than anything. My prayer is that we will experience God even in this season. And you know what? He goes on and says, I can do it. Believe in yourself. Paul to the Philippians says, I can do all things, Philippians 4:13, through Christ who gives me strength. If if you believe in yourself. One of the things that I was sharing with my daughter this week is that whenever you say you can, you are praising God. Whenever you say you can't, you're telling God, God, what is this that you've allowed me? Because 1 Corinthians 10:13 says there is no temptation, no trial, nothing can ever come your way that can overcome you. Because God is faithful. He always has a way of making a way around it. So while you are away, my prayer is that you will invest in God, invest in your skill, invest in your talent, that when you come out of this, an opportunity will come and people will say, she has been with God. God bless you.